Okay, thanks, Al. As I was saying earlier before, the webinar today is for people working in organisations that refer to the C program. And so we've got quite a mixture of providers on the line. C providers, jobactive, DES, transition to work. I had somewhere between 85 and 90 people registering, which is terrific, fabulous number of people. Something like 10 or 12 C providers, about 10 or 12 TTW providers, 8 or 9 job actives, half a dozen DES, and a few other members. Everyone online is Jobs Australia member. A few other members who have an interest in the C program for various reasons. So what that means is that a number of organisations have registered several people, and in some cases those people will be working in different programs. So there are 2 or 3 organisations, for example, that deliver jobactive, DES and TTW, so they'll have multiple numbers of people sitting around. Because you're national, or you're all around Australia, and Jobs Australia is national, there are people from all over the country. So terrific to have you on board. I should also say that there's a real mixture. People who work frontline, directly referring job seekers to programs, people who manage inside offices or within their organisations, and some people who do both. So that's who you are, and as I explained, there's quite a lot of you, which is wonderful. The bigger the number, the better for me. Okay, so we're looking at the whys, the whats and the whys of C referral, and the C program, and C stands for Skills for Education and Employment, is a free high-quality language and literacy training program for job seekers who are eligible in jobactive, DES and transition to work. And C providers get their referrals or their clients when providers of these programs refer job seekers to C. Centrelink also does, but they're primarily through your programs. So the relationship between the C providers and your programs is really critical. It's a critical resource for you, and it's free, and it's critical for C because that's where they get their referrals from. So jobactive, DES and TTW refer to C to help job seekers improve their employability and LLN skills as a direct pathway to employment or further training. So we're very clear about that. C providers are very clear in understanding that pathway. It can also be used critically to fulfil the annual activity requirements that jobactive job seekers have, the compliance activities DES job seekers have, and in the case of transition to work, very new program, hardly out of nappies, it can earn an education outcome for those providers. And I'm just going to quote something that Anita Cutler, one of our presenters, sent through to me, which is just to clarify or strengthen the connection between the program and the employment outcome of these other programs. The purpose and expectation of the training is that it will help clients to obtain sustainable employment and or undertake further education and training. And just for clarity, and so that you understand why sometimes the links in systems don't always mesh as well together as they should, the C program is administered through the Department of Education and Training and not through the Department of Employment. So what we're covering today, I've asked 3 very experienced C providers to talk about how they run the program and what some of the benefits of the program are for you, to talk through some of the compliance requirements in your programs that C can help you to address, and to explain the ways that when your relationship with C is working well, it can be a fairly streamlined and painless process which can really deliver for your job seekers. First up, Anita Cutler from Djerriwarrh is going to talk about how C can support job seekers. Ben Vasiliou from Skills Plus is going to walk through some of the benefits of using C with jobactive for annual activity requirements and using it in TTW, and Ben and Skills Plus also deliver DES, so he will talk about that as well. And Sarah Hodges, Ben and Anita are both in Melbourne. Sarah Hodges works for Nortec in northern New South Wales with a wide geographic and regional spread, and she's going to talk about some of the system setups that can be designed to help with record keeping and monitoring and both sides of the equation, referrer and C provider, understanding what's happening over the training period with your job seeker. So having given you that little bit of background, I'm going to ask Anita Cutler from Djerriwarrh Community and Education Services to come online and talk a little bit about her program. Anita, welcome.
Thank you, Janice. I'm actually really excited to be talking at this webinar today. I think it's a great opportunity for us to talk about what a fantastic program C is, and we really do get great outcomes. The first thing I wanted to say was that Djerriwarrh is the lead agent in the Learning for Employment Consortium, which is based in metropolitan Melbourne. And you can see up there on the slide, we cover the Westgate service delivery areas, Calder and Geelong. And our consortium partners are Community West, which has just had a name change to Community Plus, Laverton Community Integrated Services, WCIG, Williamstown Community and Education Centre, Wyndham Community and Education Centre, and Yarraville Community Centre. We've been together as a consortium since 2002, delivering what was the LLMP program, which then became the C program in this contract period. The majority of our clients are called clients, so non-English speakers. We do have, though, our literacy numeracy English speaking cohort. We deliver to youth, and we have a youth-only class, but we also have youth participating in our general classes as well. We also deliver to some Indigenous students, and we find that the majority of our students are mature age. So we have approximately 800 clients in training at any one time across 24 sites. Next slide. I'm just going to give you an overview of the program because I'm aware that some of you may already refer to the program, and for others it's a program you may have heard about but you may not know very much about. So on this slide I just wanted to outline some of the key features. The C program is actually a free program, and it allows for up to 800 hours of free training for participants, and that's a really important point to make. All C providers are registered training organisations, and we all deliver accredited curricula in LLN, so that's language literacy and numeracy. Some people deliver EAL framework, CGA, but there are lots of different variables, and some providers also deliver combined LLN training and VET training, vocational education and training too, so it's an important note. All participants must be registered as a job seeker. No one else can do C, only registered job seekers are able to access the C program. They're referred by DHS, Centrelink, jobactive, DES providers and TTW now providers, which is terrific. And students sometimes come into our sites and are interested in the program, and we always send them back to their either jobactive or DES provider or Centrelink to do that. Students or clients can access the C program if they're between the ages of 15 and 64 years of age. They need to be suitable for the C program and have a capacity to benefit from training. Because we actually have quite high KPIs that C providers need to meet around students actually progressing through the course. So That's why we need to make that call to the PTA.
Anita, can I interrupt just for a moment? I think it would be useful for you, or perhaps Ben or Sarah, just to make a couple of comments about what suitable for training and capacity to benefit means from the point of view of your assessment.
So what happens is the students come for a pre-training assessment first, and we assess them across all skills in the ACSS, and we actually talk to them about whether they're ready for training, and talk to them about, or try and identify any potential barriers to training, because with the C program, students need to be attending. It's really important that they attend, and we have really strict timelines around attendance and actually starting students or clients in training. So that's really important. So we talk to them, and sometimes they'll say, yep, yeah, I'm coming, I'll come to class, I'm interested, and then you might not get, you might think that they're not really, but they're saying what they think you want to hear, but we try and make a call with clients. And sometimes clients are ready and really eager to train as well. So we assess that at the pre-training assessment, and we need to ensure, depending on how the client presents, whether we believe that they'll be able to make those progressions through the ACSS every 100 to 200 hours. Yeah. Ben and Sarah, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head, Anita.
Okay. Thanks. Okay, so, and also we have flexible entry in C, which is fantastic. So students can be referred to the program at any time throughout the year, and they can start at any time throughout the year as well. We have what's called a rolling intake. We do have a training break at Christmas, which is 3 weeks, and 1 week out of the 2 weekly term holidays here in Victoria. But again, that's up to providers as well. So yeah, so we don't work out client eligibility. The referring agency does, or Centrelink, and so once students are referred, we go ahead and do that PTA assessment. What else was I going to say there? Yeah. Okay, no, that's it. Next slide, thanks. Okay, so this just outlines the training streams that we have. So we have 3 main training streams, and we have the initial language stream, which is a stream for clients whose first language isn't English. Then we have 2 other streams, the basic language literacy and numeracy stream and the advanced literacy and numeracy stream, and they're for both English-speaking clients and non-English speaking background clients. Sometimes people are aware that C is definitely for non-English speakers, but we have our literacy and numeracy students as well who really benefit from training too. So they come in at the basic and advanced level. And yeah, that was it. Next slide. Okay, some of you may have seen this and may be aware of the ACSS, which is the Australian Core Skills Framework, which underpins how we report against our curricula and vet training courses as well. For those of you who are actually involved in delivering vet training, you recognise this as well. But certainly we have to report against the ACSS, and we actually at the PTA assess every client's core skills in learning, reading, writing, oral communication and numeracy. And when we do train in the C program across the 800 hours, or it can be a minimum of 100 depending on the client needs and strengths, we really focus on the client understanding training employment pathways for themselves. Often students who are in the C program don't have a very clear direction about where they're going, so we do a lot of work around that, and that's incorporated in the learning ACSS. We actually develop people's language literacy and numeracy skills, or consolidate their skills, particularly if they haven't been in a training setting or in employment for a while. It's about revisiting and bringing people back up to speed. We use digital literacy as well. As you know, all of our clients need to be able to use digital literacy to communicate with CHS and yourselves. So that's the main component of our training. We do job search strategies as well. Again, it has to be, C has to be contextualised to our local industry, and we do a lot of support and work with students in understanding that whole process of how and where to look for work, writing cover letters, applying online, etc. We focus on, through the LLM, language literacy and numeracy, we focus on soft or employability skills. So important things like communicating in the workplace, working in groups, problem solving. It's a very professional environment, the C classroom. Students need to call in when they're going to be sick. So it's all about modelling what actually happens in a real workplace. And there are expectations of students too. So they all sign a code of conduct and they understand why they're there, and we really work with them to actually develop those skills. There's opportunity for individual and peer support, which is fantastic. Sometimes when we have youth sitting in with non-English speaking adults, we've had some fantastic situations where the youth actually model really well oracy for the non-English speakers, and it ends up being and digital literacy as well, as you can imagine. It ends up being a really beneficial for everyone involved, which is really terrific. Yeah, and we also offer work experience or work observation as well. So also providers are able to do so, and that's a really important component of getting people ready for a pathway to employment or further education as well. Thanks. Next slide. This slide just shows a bit of the process of the client's experience through C. So we have a pre-training assessment, and then if the client commences in C, they have 800 hours of training maximum, but every 100 to 200 hours they need to make those ACSS gains. So they have an assessment every 100 hours, most of them, or two assessments by 200 hours, and we need to report against that and their progress. And so that happens all the way along. And throughout C, students can be suspended if they have work trials, if they have other short training programs that their referring agencies would like them to participate in. So we're very flexible around that. Sometimes students need to be withdrawn for personal issues, but they can re-engage in the program if it's within 12 weeks of withdrawing from the program. Anyway, and by the end of the program, they actually have a learning outcome, a summary of their learning outcomes against the ACSS, which is really helpful for pathway planning, and that's what we do with our students towards the end of their training as well, work out where they're going, the next steps for them. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, and if they do finish the 800 hours, they need to have a 6-month break before they're referred back to the program. As I mentioned earlier, our EAL or our non-English speakers are very easy to identify. It's really hard initially to identify a potential literacy and numeracy stream clients because their first language is English, and they're fairly easy to understand, and they can read and they can navigate some systems, and they're managing to get to see you, so that's always a positive thing. But often when people haven't been at work or engaged in education, they lose some of the skills that they had, yeah, and they need to consolidate and revisit those skills. So I just made a list of some, when you're looking to refer students, your clients to the C program, what you could be looking at and considering for them. If their first language is English, if they talk to you about their pathway, but they're really general about it, and they're really general, they've got some long-term goals. They might want to be, paramedic, but they can't really tell you how they're going to get there or what they're going to do, what the steps are. They may have had fractured training and or employment, so they've done, you know, short-term employment or have been working for a number of years and then haven't for a number of years as well. They've done some training courses but didn't quite finish them, and again, that all points to clients who need LLN support. They may have had family responsibilities, which meant that they weren't participating in the workplace. They may have been an early school leaver as well, and certainly missed out on completing year 11 and 12. They might say to you that they're a hands-on learner, which is another potential literacy numeracy client. And the good thing is, as they say to you, they're prepared to take classes. They might not be really clear, but they're going, oh yeah, I might give it a go. I think that's where you say, okay, I've got a program that might suit you. And I think we need to be really clear when we talk to clients about C, they have the option to do C, and to come along to do a PTA is really a good starting point, but it doesn't mean that they have to do the program or that they will want to do the program. It's really something that they need to decide for themselves. Okay, next slide. This is just a slide. It's a bit technical if you don't know the ACSS, so I'm not going to dwell on it too long. But this is a literacy numeracy client who speaks English. English is their first language. And the red bars demonstrate where a client really needs to be at a minimum ACSS level to be able to access any vocational training at certificates 3 and 4. And Jodie once assessed her PTA is on the blue scale, and you can see that her oral communication is at level 2, and her reading's at level 2, her learning's 1, writing's lower, and numeracy is low. But just demonstrating that really to be able to succeed with, you know, fairly independently at vocational training, she would need to get her skills up to level 3. Yeah, I think that's what, yeah. I don't think I've got any other questions about that. No, sorry, that was that one. Next slide. This is just one example of one client's journey through C, and I wanted to make the point that C is flexible, and C providers work really hard to work with you to support clients. And Janice here started C, and during her C hours, she participated in work experience in admin concurrently while doing C. And once her work experience finished, she was really keen to do some voluntary work while she was doing her C. That then led to casual employment and then ongoing employment, which is really fantastic. And there are so many good news stories right across Australia with clients and their journey with C2. So that's just one, but it is flexible. And I think that's it for me, if there are any questions.
Thanks very much, Anita. If anyone has any questions of Anita now, put your hand up. Otherwise, if you think of something later, put your hand up then or write something in the question box. So I was just going to check and see if anyone's putting their hands up to ask questions. There will be opportunities later on though. So Al, any hands?
Not at this stage. Again, if you feel like typing them in, we can get to them a bit later.
Okay, well, we'll just move on, and if people have questions as we go along, please don't hesitate to put your hand up or to type them in. I'm just going to comment, we're in an office where our neighbours are building a monstrous high-rise around us. So when I'm not on, I'm going to turn off the line because otherwise there's a fair amount of noise. What I'm now going to do, though, is run a couple of quick polls. So in a moment, Al's going to put a question up. The first, and it's just a straw poll, so don't agonise, just, you know, a quick yes or no. There are 3 questions, one after another, initially, and they are for people who directly register people. So here's the first question. So if you're sitting there and you directly register either as part of your job, or frontline staff, or a manager come frontline person? Can you answer this one? Here's the first one. Have you referred a job seeker to C in the last 2 to 3 months? Thanks, Al.
We'll leave it open for another,
Half
10
a
or
minute.
20 seconds, but yeah, if you could please just put your vote in quickly, that'd be great, and we'll move on to the next one.
Okay, let's move on to the second one. Again, this is for people online today who directly register. Do you feel you have the knowledge to work out if a job seeker needs help with literacy and numeracy, yes or no? Okay, and here's the third one. Hello, here's the third question for people who register directly. Do you feel you have the time to work out if a job seeker needs help with literacy and numeracy? Okay, thanks everyone. Now the next question is for everyone online in jobactive, DES and TTW. So here's the question. Does your organisation's own job seeker assessment process include an assessment of the literacy and numeracy skill levels of job seekers? Okay, thanks everyone. I think most people have voted now. I'm just going to get Al to put up the results of the last question. I can't go back and do the others in retrospect, but I'll put those up. I'll let you know those when I do the report on the webinar later on. But it's interesting to see that 64% of people voted. So some people didn't vote because they don't deliver those programs. Of the people who voted, 31% said yes. Okay, so yes, there is the assessment process does include some LLN assessment. 57 said it doesn't, and 11 said they weren't sure. So that's quite interesting for, I think, 4C providers. All right, thanks very much everyone for those. I'm now going to ask Ben Vasiliou from Skills Plus if he would come online and talk a little bit about referring C to jobactive, TTW and DES. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Janet. Look, as Janet introduced, Ben Vasiliou, I'm the CEO of Skills Plus and Brace. We're a not-for-profit organisation down in Melbourne and Adelaide. We deliver the C program across the southeast Melbourne and Mornington Peninsula region, but we're also an RTO. We are a jobactive provider in partnership with AIMS Australia, and we're also a DES provider down here in Melbourne, and most recently we won the Transition to Work program in southeast Melbourne. So I suppose from our perspective we're here to talk about the benefits of referring to C as a provider of various programs and all the programs that everyone's here to represent today. The first thing that I would say before I go into some of the benefits, and I'll try not to tell you what you already know, but I would really promote you getting on the phone or organising a meeting with your local C provider. They are a wealth of experience and knowledge, but also they can help with different program guidelines and also working through challenges with job seekers. Just as an example, here in Victoria, Janet, Anita and a few others are a part of the Victorian C network that meet monthly, and we're always looking for new ways to improve the program and meet the needs of jobactive, DES and TTW providers. So I'd really recommend that you get onto your local C provider just to build a relationship, not necessarily for referrals, but you know, to build your network and your knowledge base. Look, I'll get on with it. From a jobactive perspective, I'm sure some of you would be aware, but the primary focus of why the C program benefits jobactive providers is the fact that it can meet your annual activity requirement. It meets all work for the dole requirements. C is a flexible program, so we can work with job seekers who have a part-time participation requirement all the way up to a full-time participation requirement, so we can deliver anywhere from 10 hours up to 25 hours a week. So if we think about the job seeker with a maximum AAR requirement, which is 650 hours over the 26 weeks, break that down to 50 hours a fortnight, we can deliver 25 hours a week. The ease of, I suppose, working with a C provider as well. I know for us down here in Melbourne and a number of the providers nationally work to the work for the dole timeframes now. So we understand that work for the dole is a large part of the star ratings and the performance framework for the job active world. So 20% of the star ratings sit in work for the dole, whether it be the referral timeframes or the participation. So C is a really good program because it meets the participation requirements, but also we're really good at reporting attendance and making sure that you've got sufficient evidence to, you know, load into ACSS or your third-party system to ensure that you meet the participation KPI as well. When I talk about flexibility, it's up to each C provider, but just some examples of what we do down here in Melbourne for some of the job active and DES providers that we work with, and obviously our own clients as well. We offer a really quick turnaround on referrals, so we respond within 24 hours and guarantee if the job seeker is suitable for training that will meet the 5-day time frame. We'll commence that job seeker in training within 5 days. Our current average referral turnaround to commencement in training is between the 3rd and the 4th business day after referral. So I know that can really help job active providers. But we do lots of other things with local providers. We go in and do information sessions for job seekers and staff. We've also trialled group assessment days to really promote job seeker attendance. We know that attendance rates across the land are around 50% at the moment, so you know, double booking job seekers is a bit of a challenge for you guys, so we go in and do group assessments with the job seekers, do an information session and then take them off one-on-one to complete their pre-training assessment. It's pretty important, as Anita said, you know, that we don't just work with job seekers from a cold background. Although they're a primary focus, we work with young people, we work with a range of mature age people who experience some issues with language literacy and numeracy. I suppose we really treat it like a real work environment. As Anita said, we make sure that job seekers report to us if they're not attending, and because our reporting requirements are quite strict, similar to job active guidelines, we've got to get in and enter everything on the same day into our C online system. We've got up-to-date reporting that we can get through to you guys really regularly, so you know who's attending, who's engaging and when they're not. Yeah, so from a job active perspective, a lot of providers also offer work experience components as part of the training delivery. You can get on the phone and talk to your local provider. I've just posted a link on the chat history that Al and Janet might be able to send around. But we offer work experience, so we offer a 2-week block of work experience for every 200 hours of training. We talk to the job active provider, we talk to the student, we get a real feel for what industries they're interested in, and then we go to market and try and find them some voluntary work or some work experience to put to test the skills that they've picked up in the classroom. We don't want it just to be an education program. This is really about improving the employment outcomes of job seekers and both their economic and social participation. So it's a really good opportunity to get some voluntary work or some work experience out of this program as well. Look, moving on, it's very similar for transition to work, and we know for all the transition to work providers out there, it's been a really crazy and hectic start over the first 4 or 5 weeks of the contract. But the most important thing is the same principles of jobactive. It's a 25-hour-week program that can meet the participation requirements. But you guys get a really cool bonus, which no one else is really eligible for, which is a hybrid outcome over 12 weeks. So you'll definitely have a financial incentive as well as a participation incentive. So if there's any TTW managers on the phone that know that, get in and have a look at the outcome guidelines, because C is definitely eligible for an outcome under your financial arrangements for the transition to work. Some of the benefits that we have seen over the last probably 2 years, we trialled youth-specific classrooms in Dandenong and Rosebud. So we were a youth specialist old JSA provider, and we were struggling with some of our young people, sustaining their employment outcomes, struggling with some literacy and work, or some of their numeracy issues. So what we did was design some youth-specific programs in Dandenong and Rosebud, and worked over about a 12-month period where we actually had the JSA consultants working alongside our C trainers. And again, that harps on the flexibility of the program to really improve the LLM, but also their employment outcomes. And both trials were really, really successful. We had about an 80% employment rate for both of those sites, of which ending up 5 stars and 4 stars respectively in the last contract. The last one is for DES. DES isn't necessarily eligible for an outcome, but again, being a DES provider who has consistently referred into the C program, we can talk about the benefits from a number of different aspects for our DES clients. Primarily the flexibility, but also the fact that it can improve social and emotional skill development for our job seekers with a wide range of disabilities and mental illness. And that is from an intellectual disability, a physical disability, or a mental illness. Our programs can and do focus on employability, boosting confidence. Our particular program has included travel training at the request of DES providers, and we've tied that into curriculum. And we're always updating and amending our resources, activities and curriculum to help DES providers. One of the other things that we do is we invite jobactive DES and TTW providers to dual service the clients. Sometimes it's a bit hard to track down your clients and find them, so we welcome you on site. But also a lot of providers come and do their monthly one-on-ones with their job seekers at our facility. The other thing from a DES perspective is it's a really good pathway program. We know that you guys get an education outcome that meets the outcome guidelines. So C is a really good referral pathway, whether it be a Certificate 1 in a foundation skill or a Certificate 2 or 3 in a vocational skill program, but also has had some great success for employment outcome rates. So look, it's fairly straightforward from a DES, TTW and a jobactive perspective. C might not be for everyone, but it definitely is for a large cohort of your job seekers. I know from the conversations I've had with our peak bodies, but also the Department of Employment, the Department of Education and the Department of Social Services, complementary programs are high on the radar, and the departments, all three of them, are really keen to work together and make sure that we're promoting access to and referrals to complementary programs, whether that be C or NEIS, for example. They're high on the agenda, and it looks really good from providers' perspectives to be working together, but also to improve the employment outcome rates for our job seekers. I think that's about it from me, Janet.
Thanks, Ben. That's a terrific summary. I wonder if there's anyone online, including C providers, who'd like to either make a comment or ask Ben any questions about. There are some technical things about referring, and Ben really has his finger on the pulse there. So if you do have a question, put your hand up now, and let's pick Ben's brains.
Just to let you know, there are a few questions that people have put through that we may not be able to answer just yet, but we will get to them shortly. But if there's any questions directly for Ben, then please go ahead.
Any comments there from anyone? Okay, I'll just, while we're here, I'll just briefly refer to the questions. There have been some questions about service delivery in Western Australia in the Geraldton area. I'll respond to that question after the webinar. And there are some comments. There's some questions from Tess, who's out in Christmas Island. Yeah, Tess, can we discuss that CDP question later on offline? I'll leave that for the moment, I think. Okay. Sorry. Hi, sorry. There is a question from Heidi Shabab from who's one of our C providers, and Heidi's question is she's confused about DES providers referring to C. Some say they don't get an outcome by referring to C, and some say they do. Ben, can you respond to that, please?
Yeah, I have had this question thrown at me a few times. The DES outcome guidelines, from my understanding, don't have the provision for a pathway outcome if you refer to the C program. However, there has been a conversation in the industry where different providers are offering full certificates that would meet the education outcome guidelines. Look, it's a bit of a grey area, but the DES outcome guidelines do say not for a DES job seeker, but I'd be happy to provide some information offline if you were to send me those direct details. Janet?
Thanks, Ben. That's terrific. We'll follow up on that later on. All right. I'm going to give you a couple of little polls now so that you don't have to sit there listening all the time. Here are two questions for people who manage staff directly. So for the first one, just a quick response, and once you've done that, then we'll give you the second one. So for people who manage staff directly, the first question is, does your organisation provide staff with training about LLN support for job seekers? Yes or no? Okay, people, here are the results. For that question, 70% of respondents said that your organisation does provide some LLN support, and 30% said you didn't. Your organisation didn't. And the second question is, so it's a real marketing question, this one. Have you ever asked a C provider to come and explain the program to your frontline staff? Yes or no? Okay, thanks everyone. And the results for that, 67% said that yes, they had asked a C provider to come and talk about it, and 33% said no. And I hope as a result of today's webinar that you will either continue in this wonderful practice or take it up if you haven't already. Thanks very much everyone. It's good. Well, I think it's good fun doing these little polls. I enjoyed trying to work out the question that might tell us something that will be useful. So I hope they're enjoyable for you. Now, with that, having done that, let's move on. And I'm going to ask Sarah Hodges from Nortec in northern New South Wales, who travels over a wide regional area to many sites to deliver the C program, to talk about how she does that and some of the processes that she uses to help smooth all of the administrative burden, which is huge for C and also for other programs. Al, was there something?
Yeah, Sarah, we just need you to unmute yourself.
Sarah, can you unmute yourself, please?
There we go. Good.
Thanks, Sarah. Here you go.
Thanks, Janet. Hi, everyone. As Janet said we run the C program across 8 different classrooms in between Tweed Heads and Coffs Harbour. Nortec is also a jobactive and a DES provider, so I guess you could say we are very well practiced in testing, evaluating and improving the connection and the outcomes between all stakeholders that are interested in using or working with C and job seekers. So, look, in terms of Ben and Anita have talked about the program, what the program is, what it can offer, and different outcomes that it can meet. I guess I want to take that a little bit further now, and I want to paint a picture or show you how the reporting and the collaboration could actually be managed between referring agencies such as yourselves and the C providers to move job seekers through to a work or further study situation quite successfully. So to start, just to give you an overview of the program, we come in with the pre-training assessment. So that's the initial, sorry, I'll just go back to this slide here that I have put in, sorry. Go to the next one, thanks. Great. Now, I'm not going to cover this a lot because it has been, which is why I intended to skip it. Sorry, but my apologies there. But it is, the true value of a C program is that it's a pathway designed to support increases in the core skills. So when we do that PTA, the initial assessment, we're plotting people on an individual basis to look at where their gaps are, what their needs therefore are, and how we can best work together to meet them, to move them towards successful completion of further study or entry into the workforce. So it can support jobactive. Both Anita and Ben have explained that. We can meet AAR requirements, including work for the dole. We do offer the free of charge vet training or some form of contextualised training that will move towards industry. To explain how that happened, the C program was initially the LLN program. And look, it was the KPIs, the purpose, the expectations, the systems of the program back then were the same, but I guess what was missing was that real driver towards, okay, I can read a little bit better, my numeracy skills have improved, but where do I take that? So when the program moved into C in 2013, there was that expectation that there was a driver towards further education or employment, and hence the reason most providers have put in some form of vet training as part of their C. So contextualises the way it's operated a little bit. What then happens is that there's an individual training plan that's supporting what you as either a jobactive, DES or TTW provider are trying to achieve. As both Ben and Anita have said, we've got access to the work experience, so again we're collecting between us a pool of employers and increasing skills that moves these job seekers into a better situation. I also want to make note of the fact that there is a little bit of a misconception that C is just is primarily an early school leaver program. It absolutely can support early school leavers, but the reality is literacy can take on a range of different situations. So for example, I think Anita painted...
Sarah, can I interrupt you for a moment? Someone online has asked quite a good question, which I think probably feeds into the things you were saying. So Katrina Casaclung asks, why would we refer to C rather than a Cert 1 or a 2 in vocational pathways to work and vocational pathways? So perhaps you'd like to respond to that before you go on. Thanks, Sarah.
Okay. Look, there's a couple of really basic reasons. One is, depending on who your RTO that you're working with that's offering that qualification, there's no fee to see. So if you're working with an RTO that charges to attend or to enrol in that course, we don't. The requirements of the C contract are that we are working with individuals to bring up their skill levels. We're plotting where each of those levels are and working on a plan that increases those on an individual basis, as opposed to a teacher standing up in front of a classroom and delivering content. So when you're delivering that way, there is the risk that somebody falls behind. They get lost in the way that it's being delivered because they are disengaged to start with. So they didn't get the chance to ask a question, therefore they fall behind. So C is very much individualised, and that's one particularly good reason to refer. In terms of most of the C program, us for instance, we actually do offer that Cert 1 and the Cert 2 in the Skills for Work and Vocational Pathways. So that is embedded in the way that we deliver. So another reason is that you're getting 2 bites of the cherry there. You've got that qualification that they're enrolled in, but you've also got the intensive support around that. So I think one more reason why you would refer into this kind of qualification is that, as Anita indicated, generally they're rolling enrolments, they're flexible, so you can put somebody into this activity whenever you need to. Ben's indicated that for them it's a 24-hour turnaround, so you're not waiting until the next intake or the next semester to put them into a structured vet class. Does that answer the question?
I think that's terrific. Thanks, Sarah. Press on.
Okay, I'll go to the next slide because I'm conscious of the time and I don't want to hold anybody up. So what I was getting to originally is that I just want to show you how this communication and reporting and collaboration, we can work together to achieve this. So in terms of accessing the C program, the initial appointment is you book that PTA appointment so that we can understand the skill levels, assess them and develop an individual training plan. The way that we as a C provider do this, I want to step you through it so you can see that while our aim is to increase the skills of the job seekers, we're doing that consciously being aware of the requirements of jobactive, DES and TTW. So next slide, please. So for us, when a referral comes in, it's phoned into our centralised office to take the appointment. We have a calendar, that's what's shown in front of you, that says, okay, these are the appointments available. It's a very straightforward and transparent situation. So somebody calls in, says, I'd like to book somebody for a C appointment in XYZ site. We've got a calendar instantly in front of us that says, okay, we have this one available at this time. So first step in the process. Next slide. Second step that's really valuable I'm just going to say jobactive, and that encompasses DES and TTW. But the next step that's really valuable for them is we're collecting really critical information at that point as well. So, for example, what are the AAR hours that you want this person to come in at? What is the purpose for them coming in? What are their contact details, etc. So we're right from the very start trying to capture and understand the requirements that you have to report back to you in terms of your compliance. To show you how this works in process, somebody comes in to do their PTA and they say to the assessor, yes, I'm here for 15 hours a week, that's all I need to do. If we've captured information at the time of referral that says no, they have a full-time requirement 25 hours, we will base our individual training plan and the time that they have to go into classes on that. If there's a different story there, we'll actually refer back to whoever, to jobactive, and look for information around the discrepancy. If we have it in writing that there's a difference, then we'll apply it. So again, we're working towards managing that compliance requirement that you have as well. Next slide, please. So the next step in the process is that once we do make that appointment, we collect email addresses and mobile phone number of the actual job seeker for a reason. Immediately after you have made the appointment, an email will be sent out to you as the referrer saying, John Smith has been booked into this appointment, this is the date, time, this is the location. That's really valuable because it means that you as a provider can print that out while the job seeker is sitting in front of you and hand it to them as a confirmation. You can also upload it into your ACSS Abridged system to keep a record of that. We will also then, 24 hours prior to the appointment, send out a confirmation to you via email and a text message to the job seeker to remind them of the appointment. So again, we're trying to capture and manage that compliance and attendance requirement so that they can actually move into the program, and they're set up to understand that this is the expectation and this is what will happen moving forward. So you can see there we've got a template around what information we send back to you. Can I have the next slide, please? Okay, so the day of the appointment has come, or the assessment, however a provider tends to work it. We've then got the opportunity where they're communicating again because of the information that was captured at the point of referring. We can advise you of the outcome. So this particular client attended on this day, they were assessed at this level, they have a training load of X amount and they're going to start at on this day. So again, you're looped into that communication the entire way. You can manage your records accordingly, and so furthermore, we also will send you information to say if they didn't arrive and what reason we were given if we were able to get a hold of them. So what I'm trying to illustrate through that process is that it is collaborative, it is working while we have our own requirements to meet once they're in the classroom with us, and we concentrate on those in a very individualised and compassionate way. We are working at the same time to manage the requirements and the compliance that exist around jobactive, DES and TTW. Okay, next slide. So I guess just to recap all of that, so how seeker providers can work with referring agencies to make it seamless. We assess the eligibility and do the PTAs with minimal disruption. So it's a collaborative process where everybody's included from the start. So there is that expectation that we're both working towards maintaining attendance and compliance. There's no playing one off the other. We're both working towards a common goal, which is moving a job seeker through to a situation where they can complete further study or they can move into the workforce. So the communication between the two providers is really vital and essential. C does have the capacity to deliver attendance data to you. For example, our particular program on a weekly basis will say John Smith has a training load of 25 hours a week. They attended this day, and this day for this many hours. Any reasons that they didn't attend are included. So again, it's that collaboration and we're working together to make sure any requirements are met. That's the overview in terms of what I've got time for. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I was looking to provide an opportunity to show you how C can actually work with jobactive to meet requirements.
Thanks, Sarah. That's marvellous. I wonder if there's anyone online who has a question for Sarah. Either put your hand up or put something in the question box. Okay, and a question from Tess on Christmas Island who asks, are O10 or other C providers able to provide as much detailed information back to providers as Nortec does? I'm just going to answer that question and then see if either Anita or Sarah wants to comment, but I would say that the Jobs Australia C providers certainly able to provide this level of detail. As Sarah said, she was describing particular processes that she and Nortec have put in place, but all C providers will have their own processes and will be able to provide information for programs. As you refer to O10, and as you and I both know, but not necessarily everyone online will know, O10 provide distance education for people living in very remote communities. And I don't know, Tess, that's something we might bring up with Emma Croakneed. I'm just going to ask now whether Anita or Sarah wants to make any comment about that.
Do you mind if I do? It's Sarah.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Okay, I believe in answer to the question, I agree with Janet, any provider can provide you with that level of information. I think what the key is that the two programs don't necessarily understand each other, and so from my view, the key is making contact with the provider to say, look, this is our needs, let's talk about what your needs are, and let's look at a way that we can implement a system between the two of us, because we both can achieve something out of working together, what's going to work for us. I think that's the real key to it, is making contact with your provider and explaining your requirements and looking for solutions as to how you can work together to achieve that.
Thanks, Anita.
Anita, I agree with you, Sarah. People are happy to work at the local level and work with their providers directly.
Thanks, Anita. Thanks, Sarah. And I'll just come in again briefly on that. Part of the purpose of this webinar today and my role at Jobs Australia in working with the C providers is to try to create some more linkages between C providers and our other members who deliver the other programs. So I am going to ask you later on if you would like to know the C provider in your area, and many of you will know, but if you would like me to link you up with someone who is delivering in your area, who's a Jobs Australia provider, then I'm going to invite you to do that and try to use the membership of Jobs Australia as a way of strengthening those connections. So a terrific question, Tess, and thanks Anita and Sarah. Now we're nearly towards the end, so just a couple of things that I'm going to round off with. I was thinking about the issue that's raised about recognising frontline staff recognising when someone may need help with literacy and numeracy support, particularly, less so with language, I think, which is much more a self-identifying thing. Now, for some people clearly from the poll feel quite confident about their ability to assess this level of need, but I don't know that that's true of everyone. And some years ago, and it's quite a long time ago, Task Force, and I think there are a couple of people from Task Force on the line today, Task Force, which is an organisation in suburban Melbourne, was commissioned by the then Department of Education, Science and Innovation to prepare some basic support documents for people working in employment services. I've downloaded those, and I'm just going to give you screenshots of a couple of them. They're pretty basic, but they're really good, useful tools. So managers might think they're useful for perhaps to accompany some other training, or perhaps to give to new staff, new frontline staff, to make people a little bit more aware of ways in which literacy and numeracy needs might go unnoticed. So, and as I said, I will make those available on the website later on after the webinar. So, for example, here is a screenshot from one of them, and this is just some very basic clues that you might pick up when you're talking to a job seeker, which might make you think, well, we're not making very much progress. What's the blockage? What's the barrier? So that was one. And this was another one, which is, you know, part of that thinking, that process of thinking, are we doing this in a holistic way? Are we looking at the various ways that we message services for job seekers so that so that accessibility is as broad and effective as possible? So as I say, I'll make those available. Now, Al has drawn my attention to a question here. Okay, so the comment is quite useful. Thanks, Sarah. This is the first time I've realised that C providers may have access to information regarding the participants' hours of individual job seekers, and it would be fantastic if they could increase the hours of study, and there's a bit more to that. So I'll put those questions and answers up later on. So thank you for those. And other useful information. Now, I've just listed here things. When I send out the slides for the webinar, I will send them out with the note field showing, and in the note field I've included some links. So in the notes you'll see there is a link for the providers and areas. So I've done the best that I can for finding job active areas and providers, DARES and TTW. Some of these are government sites, and I know from experience that occasionally the lists aren't perfect, but I don't have much control of that. And all that means is, for example, in the case of TTW, that's just been announced. It's very new, and there are a couple of providers listed as having TTW who have in fact not accepted the contract. So by and large they're pretty good, but you may find some odd discrepancies. I'll put the Task Force literacy support materials up, and I've just said in the notes that if you would like to know, if you don't know or you'd like to know the names of other C providers in your area, because there is usually more now, there are usually more than one, just flick me an email with your name and area, and I'll go through my list and let you know who's delivering C in your area, and I'll highlight who the Jobs Australia C providers are. Now, I think that we are almost at the end of the webinar, so I'm going to say thank you very much to everyone, and on your behalf thank Anita, Ben and Sarah. Before I close down, does anyone want to have a last word?
Anita here.
Thanks, Anita. Please go ahead.
I just wanted to encourage all of you to make contact with your C provider. Come and visit. We'd love to have you on site to show you what we do, and to come to your site to explain how to make the referral process really easy as well. But certainly I would encourage you to do that. Thank you.
Thanks, Anita. Anyone else, Sarah?
Thank you all for attending. It's great to have the opportunity to look at how we can improve the link between the contracts.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks again, everyone. As you log out today, there's a brief survey. I'd be very grateful if you would respond to that. And as I said before, thanks again to everyone. Cheerio. Hi, Anita and Sarah. People are just leaving webinar, so I'll say thank you to both of you and I'll touch base with you later on. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Janet. Bye.
Bye.